Jake, you said that you're happy to affirm this sort of empiricist nominalist position, and that seems to necessitate the idea that all of the knowledge that we have comes from either sense data or relations of ideas. I'm just curious if you think that the peripatetic axiom itself is found in sense data.
That's not my position. When did I ever say that I'm an empiricist?
Well, if you're a nominalist, you're an empiricist.
How does that follow? Well, you're supposed to ask the question.
So you disagree with what most people in your tradition?
No.
So you're not an empiricist?
I'm not an empiricist by the standard that you just laid out.
Well, so you don't think the knowledge comes from sense data?
I do, but I don't think it's limited to sense data.
I didn't limit it to that. I said also relations. I said relations of ideas.
Yeah, I don't think it's limited to those two.
Okay, where else does knowledge come from?
The Fitra.
And that is what?
Do you know what it is?
No, I don't. That's why I asked you.
Okay. Well, kind of similar to your concept of the nous.
So a direct perception of God?
Yes.
How do you directly perceive God if, as Ibn Taymiyyah says, God cannot be seen?
What do you mean? He says God cannot be seen? Of course God can be seen.
Oh, how can God be seen?
How can God be seen? I guess, Jay, you're not familiar with our.
You're giggling. Yeah, well, that's why we're asking you.
Yeah, I'm
Jake,
answering
we're asking
your
you
question.
that.
I'm asking
you. Giggling.
And it's showing.
How can God be seen? Is he seen with the eyes?
Yes, he is. It's showing that your ignorance, that you don't even know.
I'm glad you think I'm ignorant, so that's why you get the chance to the chance to enligghten us.
I'm trying to.
So stop filibustering,
soldier. If you slow down, soldier, I will. Yes.
How is God seen by the eyes?
If you allow me to talk, I'll tell you. By the beatific vision, we believe in the afterlife that we do see God with the eyes. Correct.
But has anybody in this life seen God?
No.
Does God have a physical?
Not with the eyes.
Form?
Not with the eyes.
Does God have a physical form?
Define what you mean by physical.
The body parts that are listed.
We don't believe God has body parts, no.
Well, you believe he has a foot, right?
We believe, yes. We do believe he has a foot. We believe his hand.
What is a foot that's nothing like a created foot?
What is a foot that's nothing like a created foot?
Right.
The same thing that an essence is that's nothing like a created essence.
Yeah, but our argument is not based on analogy for essence.
I'm saying that any predicate that we ascribe to God in creation, there is a similarity in meaning, but it doesn't follow from that that there is a similarity.
What's that similarity meaning?
Let me finish. Does not follow from that there is a similarity in ontology, which is completely new.
Yeah, I understand. No, I understand that that's the Ibn Taymiyyah position. So I'm asking, what is the
similarity? What's the problem with it?
What is the similarity?
What is the similarity in terms of the meaning? The color.
And what is that? You're just saying meaning. What is that?
Yes. So we know it based on the text. So if you go to the example,
is all of that empirically derived? Is the meaning empirically derived?
If you allow me to finish, if you go to the text that describe the yed or the foot, for example, the hands are described as being responsible for directly creating Adam. So this is how we understand the meanings of the text.
So you reference
the attributes in context.
So you reference another created object, right?
What's the created object?
The text.
No, the text is not created.
The text that you read is created, right?
The papers and the ink is created.
Exactly. That's the
papers.
Text.
The papers and the ink, but the words are.
That's called the text. I know you're talking about the eternal Quran. That's not what I'm talking.
No, I'm not talking about. I don't even believe in an eternal Quran. What are you talking about?
So the text that you derived that knowledge from is empirical, right?
The text that I derived. I don't understand the question.
You don't understand the question. Exactly.
No, I don't. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
you think I believe in an
you don't empirically
Quran.
read the Quran.
You don't even know my position.
You don't empirically read the Quran.
Yes, we do.
That was the question I asked you. So you do understand.
We read.
But you did understand it. You just didn't want to ask. You didn't want to answer it. You understood it then.
No. You're empirically not even able to ask me appropriate questions.
I asked you that. Yeah, and then
you think I believe in an eternal Quran? Where does it say that in the book you read?
I'm asking you about your empiricism, which you don't want to talk about. And you said that. So what is a created foot? What is it? What is a foot that's nothing like a created foot?
And I explained it to you.
No, you didn't.
I explained it to you. I said it's known.
Go to these texts.
I said it's known. I said it's known through the text.
It's right, which is a circle of empirical sense data, which is what I'm asking you about.
What's the circle? How do we know? How do we know
empiricism to another empirical piece of data to another empirical piece of data? You can never get out of this loop. That's why that's a problem for empiricism.
No, it's not, because it's the same thing when it comes to divine revelation, according to the Orthodox. How do you know about
That's
the
a tu quoque.
No, it's not.
That's
No,
a
it's
tu
not.
quoque. I
How
want to
do
know
you
your
know-
position.
How do you know about
You're-
the Trinity? You know
already-
about
you
the
said you're-
Trinity in the
you
same
said you're-
manner. You know about the
You
Trinity
said
in the
this
same
comes
manner
to
through
a moderator.
revelation.
He doesn't answer the questions. He just talks over me.
You're complaining
I
to
do
the
wanna
That's a
moderator.
tu quoque.
bring this back. Hold on one sec. I do want
This
to
is
reset.
so. Hold on. I asked him about
I can
his
answer the
position.
questions, however, I
Jake,
freely
I'm
choose.
asking. I asked about his position, and he said, "Your view of divine revelation." That's a tu quoque. I'm asking about his position, which he won't explain.
Okay, James, whether or not my response is a fallacy is for the audience to decide.
No, moderators are involved in that.
I
I
can
don't know
answer.
if you know that. Moderators
can-
step in.
Yeah, and I can answer, and I can say
You're not answering.
I can
You're
answer and give.
deflecting.
I
You
can
won't
answer.
answer.
I can
I
give
hate to
any
say,
answer
but-
I want.
Yeah,
I hate to say,
exactly.
but we only have
Bad
a minute
ones.
left in this section.
I can give any
You can
answer
say
I
anything
want.
you want, which is what you're doing.
Exactly, I'm answering your question. You just don't like the answer
No,
because you
saying
can't
anything that you
critique my
want is not
Let's
an
position.
just do one last, just to be sure I understand the question. Jay, if you can ask it
go
one more
ahead.
time for me.
Right. So I asked for his basis for knowing what the Quran teaches, which is empirical sense data. And I'm trying to get at the point that he can never get out of the domain, the veil of empirical sense data to ever actually know anything about Allah himself, because much like the Thomist position, he's stuck in only seeing and interacting with created effects. So I'm trying to figure out, he says, well, in the future, there will be this direct perception of Allah in the beatific vision. And I'm asking about the here and the now. How do you ever get out of the box of the challenge of Humean skepticism?
Yeah. And I'm saying that we have a direct direct experience of God right now through the concept of the Fitra, which I explained. But since you don't even know what it is, it's no surprise that you don't understand.
Explain what it is. So you're just. So you're
I did. I
by
gave
not
you a
explaining.
corollary within Orthodox theology where I explained that it's similar to the concept of nous, where there is a direct experience of God.
You said in the eschaton.
A direct. No.
Yes, you did.
No. You're confusing us seeing God with a direct experience of God. Those are not the same thing, Jay.
So is that had in this life?
Yes, there's a direct experience of God right now that is not through some inferential process. It's not based on argumentation.
Jake, earlier when you were talking about your view of epistemology and whatnot, do you agree with the position of Ibn Taymiyyah as related on page 196 of the Suleiman book that the principles of reasoning are self-evident truths?
I would have to look at the reference, but define self-evident.
Not relying on anything else to be the case.
I believe that they are known directly through the Fitra.
And that is what?
What I explained before, similar to the
What
nous.
is what? What is what?
I said I explained it before, similar to the nous.
Okay, so every individual in an inner sense just knows self-evidently that what the law of logic is true, the laws of logic are true.
He knows that certain principles like that a half is less than a whole, he knows these things directly, not through some type of inference.
So are they self-evident?
Self-evident only in the sense that he knows them directly through the Fitra.
Okay, so they
And
don't
not
rely
through-
on.
They're not
but-
from an inference. You
So they don't
know
rely.
them-
So they don't rely on anything else to be true.
They rely on God to exist to create us with that Fitra
Hold on, we
or
don't
apparatus.
know that that's the case yet. So you do believe they're self-evident.
I know. I said they're not self-evident in the sense that you're
No, to
talking
human
about.
perception.
They're not dependent on human perception. They're prior to
I didn't
human
say are they
perception.
dependent. I said are they self-evident to human
They're
perception.
self-evident in the sense that they are known directly through the Fitra as an apparatus.
Okay, so how do we adjudicate between the things that are self-evident and the things that aren't?
By the fact of our existence, we know that, for example, a half is greater than a whole.
Yeah,
and
that's
a half,
so that's a fallacy.
a whole is greater than a half.
Yeah, that's a
There's
fallacy.
there
Appealing
is-
to existence doesn't justify the truths.
I explained to you how. It's because we know them directly through the Fitra.
So we
in
know
the
them because we
same
know
way-
them. So that's
No,
a
no, no.
circle.
No, it isn't. I explained how we know them.
You just said we know them because we exist and experience them. That's a circle.
No, I said that we experience them
Uh-huh.
through the apparatus of the Fitra, which God has created human beings upon.
Yeah, but
That is
how do
the
we
Muslim
know?
position.
How do we know the difference between those and the non-self-evident truths? Is what I asked you. You said by existence.
because they're self-evident, as you just said.
Oh, so now you do believe in self-evidence.
Self-evident in the sense that they're not based upon inference.
And how do we know those distinct from the ones that aren't?
Because you know when you make an inference and when you don't. And if you don't, then you got
so
a
we
big
just
problem.
know. So reality is reality. So
T-Jump,
did you get this from T-Jump?
do you know the difference between when you're making an inference and when you're not?
I'm asking you questions, not you.
Exactly.
Right.
So I'm telling you, we know the difference between when we make an inference and when we don't make an inference.
Yeah, but that's not answering the question. I'm asking for the justification for the division between the self-referential and the non-self-referential. What's the justification?
The justification is that the self-referential, which you're talking about, the self-evident ones, do not rely upon inference where other
So they're self-evident because they're self-evident.
No, they're self-evident because they don't rely on inference. And you're asking, how do we know that?
Because they're self-evident.
How do we know that? Because when I make an argument, and I appeal to an inference rule, I know that I'm appealing to an inference rule.
So that's a circle, Jake. This is a basic epistemology problem for your empiricism.
Do you have a question, sir?
Exactly.
You have a question.
You ready for me to move on?
I'm asking you if you have a question.
So how do we know the difference between the self-referential
I already answered your question.
and the non?
I already answered your question.
No, you didn't. You just restated that.
No, you said, how do we know that they're self-evident?
How do we know the difference?
How do we know?
It's called the criteria problem.
No, how do we know?
Yes, it is. It's called the criteria. Are you familiar with the criteria problem?
I'm not answering that. I know what the criterion problem is.
Okay, and what is it?
That's not my point. I'm saying to you.
That's my question. So that's why you're saying it's not your point.
And I'm saying to you that you're asking me, how do I know the difference between what's self-evident and what is known through an inference?
No, between what's not self-evident.
Right. And the opposite of not being self-evident is something that is known through.
So you're in the criterion problem, Jake.
I've explained it 3 times. It's very simple.
You explained it, but it's not answering the criterion problem. Do you know
if you don't know the difference?
Do you know what the criterion problem is?
I already answered that question.
Do you know what the problem is?
Yes.
What is it?
I do. You just explained the problem to me.
Moderator, he won't answer. Do you know who's associated with it?
Who's associated with what?
The criteria problem.
It's a problem in epistemology.
Yeah. Who's associated with it?
I don't know who the origin.
You're right. So it's David Chisholm. So how do you answer the criteria problem?
I'm giving you an answer. I've been doing it for the past 5 minutes.
So you'll notice in the debate, Jake just talks and he doesn't answer the objection.
No, I asked.
And he says that it's self-evident because it's self-evident.
No, I never said that.
You did say that. Everybody heard him say it's self-evident because it exists. And we don't. That is what you said.
How do we know? And I said, we know it through a divinely created apparatus. That's how we know it.
We don't know that directly. This is your starting point.
What do you mean?
We're talking about starting points. You're appealing to divine apparatuses. I'm talking about the starting point.
No, I'm saying that according to our epistemology, the Fitra is how we know these things, and we know that because we're created upon it.
Yeah, but the question is about, do you know that you're created that way? And you're just saying, well, we're made that way. That's my question.
Yeah, I'm saying we know we're created because we have a direct experience.
No, I'm asking about the principles of reason themselves. And you said you believe in self-evidence. And then I said, okay. And then I asked you the criterion problem, and you haven't answered the criterion problem. You keep talking around it.
I've answered your question several times.
Your answer was circular.
Explain the circle.
Because you said that, well, I know it's self-evident because it's self-evident. And when I'm not doing something that's an inference, that's not answering the criterion problem.
No, you asked how do I know it? What's the justification?
I explained. You don't even understand the question. You want me to state the question again? So what is the justification for the belief that you know the difference between the self-evident ones and the non-self-evident ones? So the criteria problem is saying that you have a more fundamental criteria by which you cash out these 2 different things and put them in 2 different classes. How do you know that more fundamental Chisholm issue is what I'm asking?
Yeah, and I'm repeating the same exact answer. We know it based on the fact that we are created by God with a direct experience of those things.
That's a circle that doesn't justify the criteria problem. That doesn't tell us, Jake, that doesn't tell us how we know the fundamental criteria is the case.
We were